Hey guys, welcome to my channel. It's time for a mid-year check-in. I feel like I haven't given you an update on what I've been reading the last few months outside of what you've seen in the recent vlogs. So I thought this would be a good time to tell you how I'm feeling about the first half of 2025 and what I'm looking forward to in the second half. So let's kick off with some stats, shall we? All right, I am 62 books in this year. Not good, not bad. I would say it's average for me. I feel like I'm normally hitting like 80, 85 by July, but we've had a couple reading slumps this year, and instead of trying to force myself through them, I've just been letting myself devour Scandal, watch all the Jaws movies, and just have a good time enjoying other media. And honestly, it's paying off because now I'm in the middle of 3 books that are vastly different from each other, and I'm having a really good time with them. So we're 62 books in, which translates to 24,562 pages, according to Storygraph. I know that's not fully true because I've listened to several audiobooks, but you get my drift. Average time to finish books has been about 5 days, which is a little long for me. Again, we are in a slumpy time, but I'm having a good time, and that's what matters. 73% of the books I've read this year have been between 300 and 499 pages. I would say most between that 3 to 350 mark. And 58 of the 62 books I've read were fiction, 3 nonfiction, hoping to fix that on the back half of the year. And currently I'm actually reading 1 nonfiction. So let's go into it. How's my reading year going? I would say from a quality standpoint, if we're looking at like star ratings, it's going very well. I'm averaging about 4 stars. I already have 13 5-star books for the year, which feels incredible. I feel like I am picking things that I am enjoying, but I am reading a lot of romance. I would say probably 40 to 45 of the 62 books I've read so far this year have been romance or romance heavy. And while there is nothing wrong with enjoying the romance genre, I am a fierce defender of it. I think I need to break up with it a little bit. I think I need to diversify my reading. And I don't mean in the kinds of stories I'm reading as far as like who the characters are or the authors, because I am reading diversity on that front. I mean literally. I think I need more thrillers in my life. I think I need more horror. I think I need more lit fic. I think I need more of things where, you know, the leading marker on your given reading tracker is not romance. Best book you've read so far in 2025, I think it has to go to Promise Me Sunshine by Cara Bastone. I read this pretty early in the year. I want to say I started it in February, finished it in March. I know it took me an entire month to read because I would get, 2 chapters in at a time. I would say, ouchie. And I would go, if I could cry, I would cry. And then I would put it down for a little while. I'd go read something else. I'd pick it up, say ouchie, and do that all over again. This book was incredible. I love it so, so much. So we're following Lenny and Miles, who honestly would not run into each other had it not been for the situation. Lenny has recently just lost her best friend to a terminal cancer battle, and she is just kind of floating through life right now, trying to just survive, and she has not quite figured out how to have a will to live past that. She's not actively trying to harm herself, but she's not taking care of herself either. And the way she's getting by and able to keep herself alive in New York City is through short-term nannying gigs, and that's how she meets Miles. She shows up to nanny his niece. He sees her, thinks she's a complete wreck. He's not wrong. And tells his sister that he doesn't feel comfortable leaving her with his niece and that he's going to stick around for the weekend while she's watching his niece as his sister has to go on a business trip. So she's like, fine, whatever. She asks Lenny if she's okay with it. Lenny doesn't care. And they just kind of are around each other for that long weekend. And through that, Miles figures out that Lenny's really going through it. And he says, hey, I have been exactly where you are. I have done this before. Let me help you. And in turn, she helps him develop a relationship with his niece. He and his sister have a very estranged relationship. His niece seems to like him, but she's like 6 or 7, and he has no idea how to be around small children. And so Lenny opts in to help him. And this is a beautiful story about grief, about honoring the people who have been in your lives, about learning that it is okay to keep living even though they're not here anymore, and how to move forward. It's crushing and it's beautiful. Okay, best sequel you've read so far in 2025 is a hard question because I don't really read true sequels unless I'm reading a fantasy series, and I have started some, but I have not gotten to their sequels yet. I guess if I have to answer the question, I would say The Wingman by Stephanie Archer. I read and loved this summer, and then I read Gloves Off right after. And these are an interconnected standalone sports romance series. So technically, they're all sequels, but also they're all standalones. You know what I mean? It was a good time, but I don't know that I would count that as a sequel. Use your discretion. Favorite reread of the year. I guess this counts. Unloved. That you're like, but Rebecca, this came out this year. It did. It came out on February 4th, but I had an arc of it, and I read that back in like November or December. Loved it. And then when this came out, the audio dropped on Libro for the Libro ALC program, and I snatched it up and I listened to it all over again while I was promoting that book that week. I love this so much. This is following Maddie and Ro. We met them in book one. They are the best friends to Reese and Sadie in that first book. And both of them are kind of messes in their own way, but one more obvious than the other. Maddie's really struggling on the academic front. He is a hockey player at Winterfell. I always want to call it Winterfell, and because it's the Waterfell Wolves, and I think Winterfell, I think Wolves, I think King of the North. That's where my brain goes. Anyway, he's on the Waterfell hockey team, but he is struggling to pass his classes. And it's not because he's not smart. It's not because he doesn't apply himself. It's because homie has multiple learning disabilities and no one seems to care. It's really sad, actually. The adults in his life who should care do not care, and it's honestly kind of crushing. And this is where Ro enters. She is a student, I was about to say academic advisor, but that's not right. She tutors Maddie, and he is known as the problem child amongst the student teachers, and she's like, whatever, he can't be that bad, and so she starts to tutor him. In this tutory relationship, we start to learn that Ro is really going through it with her on and off again boyfriend, who is also a student tutor and is honestly a piece of shit. We watch her and Maddie become friends through most of this, and I think this is why I loved it so much. It is so rare for me to pick up a college romance anymore, especially sports romance, but really because I feel like the friendship aspect is skipped, where it's not often as skipped in adult sports romances. But Peyton gave us a great friendship that turned into a great relationship, and I had such a good time. Okay, genre you've been reading the most or loving. I have been reading romance the most, but I have been loving fantasy the most, for sure. New release that you haven't read yet but want to. Okay, I have several. Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I was kindly sent an arc of this by Penguin Random House, and it arrived as I was entering the worst reading slump I've had all year. I don't think I read for like 3-4 weeks, and then I have made it through maybe 2 chapters of this so far, and I just keep stopping, and I don't know why. There's nothing wrong with the book. I think it's a me thing. I think I just keep reading it at the wrong time, so I'm hopeful the right time makes itself known to me soon so I can read this. Then I have These Summer Storms by Sarah McLean. This was sent to me by Ballantine Books, actually. Thank you so much to them. I have known her as a historical romance author, and I have liked her historical romances. So when I saw that she was going to be trying contemporary on for size, and not only contemporary, but dramatic family issues set in a beach, and we're wealthy people, I can see where the strengths of her historical romance writing could come into this story, and I'm excited to see if she makes the transition to it. Well, I think she will. I've heard a lot of rave reviews for that. And then last but not least, we have No Sense in Wishing by Lawrence Burney. Atria sent this to me, actually, so thank you to them. This is a essay collection, which if you know me, I tend to say that I don't like short stories. And I don't know if that's entirely true, or if I just don't like fictional essays, if I would prefer a nonfiction essay set like this. I also have had the maybe bad luck previously of when people have sent me essay collections, it has been in the audio format, and that has really not worked for me because it's very hard to tell when one's ending and another's beginning. But I really liked, I can't think of the name of the book right now, but it was told in a series of vignettes that felt like essays. I will put the cover here. I loved that last year, and so when I saw this, I was like, this kind of gave me, not similar vibes, but I thought it would maybe be in a similar style, so I am excited to read this. Lawrence Burney is focusing on a a personal and analytical look at his hometown of Baltimore through music, throughout global Black diaspora and traditions that raised him. And if there's anything I like, it's an introspective look about the places that made you. So I'm hoping that this really hits for me. Okay, most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. I think, like everyone and their mother, I'm looking forward to Calabasas by R.F. Kuang, who's not at this point. That comes out next month. People Watching by bonam-young, which comes out in September. I'm very excited for that. And I feel like there's some October and November releases that I just can't think of right now. I've been trying to rack my brain about this, but I've also been trying to let go of the need to like read things early and to scour NetGalley for things, because half the time I end up requesting it thinking I'm not going to get approved, and then I end up with a crazy list. And I think I just want this second half of the year to be where I just experience books as they become available to me. So those are the two that I could think of off the top of my head, but I know there's more than that. Ooh, my biggest disappointment of the year. That's real easy. It's one of my most recent reads. None of This Is True by Lisa Jewell. I was very sad at how this went. I was really sad. I thought I was going to love this. Y'all have been raving about this book for damn near 2 years. And I was like, you know what? I'm finally going to read it. It'll be my summer reading treat. I started reading it. I was having a good time through the first 35, 40%. And then it felt like the book just kind of got stuck on itself, on its own creative narrative. And it just never recovered. It never recovered. And I just can't. I'm so sad about it. My biggest surprise. Ooh, okay, 2 of them actually. Deep End by Ali Hazelwood and Savor It by Tara DeWitt. These 2 are my biggest surprises. Savor It because of the execution of the story. This is a small town neighbors to lovers romance about 2 people who are in the midst of big changes in their lives, and you can tell immediately when they start, and they acknowledge when they start, that they're on a clock. This is not a happily ever after. They're going to try and have a happy for now situation. I tend to hate romances that do that. And when I was reading about this, I didn't realize that. Maybe I just didn't look into the synopsis as thoroughly. I really just wanted to read this so I could know who the birds were before I read Left of Forever. I'm so glad I read it anyway. I absolutely loved this. I think Tara DeWitt executed it perfectly. She just did. I loved it. And then Deep End, I loved it so much I ordered a special edition. I hated the way y'all treated this book. I don't know who thought this was going to be some sort of BDSM accurate version of 50 Shades of Grey. They're 22. They're in college. They're both professional-ish athletes. She's an NCAA athlete, so is he, but he also swims for the Swedish national team. Please. They're in the beginnings of exploring their kinks. Neither of them have had partners who have been into it so much in their adulthood. So this is the first time they're kind of getting through that. Now, I will hear all the valid complaints for the girl whose name I can't think of. Scarlett? No, Scarlett's the main character. Whoever the friend was that got them together, I understand hating her, because I didn't like her either. But the rest of it, Allie had me sweating and giggling over ankle caresses. Ankle caresses. I will fight y'all over this. This was great. Ooh, favorite new author. I tend to believe that an author can't be my favorite until I've read 2 to 3 of their books, maybe even 4 if they have them. I feel like this is going to be solidified as a favorite author. I'm not comfortable calling her that just yet, but I am going to put Tara DeWitt up there. Like I said, the way she handled the situation she created in Savor It, I loved. I loved Left of Forever. I had such a good time with that second chance romance. I have funny feelings on my shelf, and so maybe we'll explore that this fall. It looks very fall coded if you could see the cover, but I'm not getting up to go get it because I have a precarious stack of books around me, but I feel like she could become a new favorite. Newest favorite character. I'm really loving the shift in these questions. If you've watched my previous mid-year check-ins, you'll notice the questions are very different. I got these from Kayla from Books and Lala, but I've been watching more mid-year tags, and I've noticed that a lot of people have shifted to this set of questions, and I'm enjoying it because I personally have never had a book boyfriend, will never. It's just not for me. I'm not a person who thinks about a fictional character not being with the other fictional character they were written for in their book. I just don't think about it that way. So, my favorite newest characters that I've read so far. This is really hard, if I'm being honest. I'm going to give it to Elias from Half a Soul and Miles from Promise Me Sunshine. They're both vastly different men. Vastly different men. Elias is in a historical setting, in a book in which his FMC literally is missing half of her soul because a fairy took it. And he is in the court of the king. I forget what his role is, but he's like a magician that people don't really trust and they think he's weird and he doesn't like them. He hates being called a gentleman. He's like, I have no title. I have no rank. Like, get out of my face. And he's prickly, but he's so good. He's so good. I love him. And then Miles will make you believe life is worth living again. So, I mean, I had to give it to him too. Okay, a book that made you cry. Nothing has made me cry. This is a problem that I have. I don't really cry, and I used to. And you know what? I would love to be a crier again, honestly. Bring back crying all 2025. But the closest I got was Promise Me Sunshine. There are some lines in here and some moments where Lenny's grief is so palpable. And as a person who has, unfortunately, lost a best friend, I knew exactly how she was feeling. And so, have you ever been so sad by something that you can't cry and it has skipped the crying phase and has just gone straight to being rooted into your soul? Because that's what this did to me. Okay, book that made you happy. This is going to be a very weird fucking answer, and I need you to acknowledge that with me and know that I know it's a very weird fucking answer, okay? I know it is. It's Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. You're like, Rebecca, why would a story about tuberculosis ravaging Africa make you happy? It's not the content. I mean, it was kind of the content, but it was more of the fact of getting quintessential John Green in the way that watching Vlogbrothers videos circa 2014 while I'm sipping my coffee before running off to my part-time job, watching John and Hank talk at each other through videos across the week, I just got that feeling again. Or got that feeling of almost like watching a TED Talk, but of someone that you're interested in, about a subject you know nothing about, but you know they're so passionate about it, and you can just see the light brighten in their eyes as they're explaining what they're explaining to you. I just got that from this book, and it made me want to seek out nonfiction again, which is why I've already read 3 nonfiction books this year after not having really read any over the last 2 years. And that just made me incredibly happy. And also hearing John Green gush about something that he has aggressively researched and made his whole life is just fun for me. I love John Green. I'm a millennial, true to my core. I love him. He's great. Okay, the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year or received. I haven't really purchased any special editions that I would consider special editions. And you're like, Rebecca, what do you mean by that? If you can find it on the shelf at Barnes & Noble, it's not a special edition to me. It's just not. Like, is it a different edition? Sure. Is it, can it have special things to it, like a stenciled edge or something that makes it different than a plain white papered copy? Absolutely. But when we're at the point where we're mass printing these to the point where, like, anyone could walk off the street and just grab it, it just takes away from the special editionness of it. I would really like to go back to circa 2015 when special editions meant that someone went and bought 100 copies of a book at their local Barnes & Noble and made their own dust jackets and were, like, hand stenciling the books and then reselling them, and we were giving the artists so much credit for their work. I want that. I want that back. But I did receive as a gift this Fairy Loot edition of Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. And honestly, just looking at the cover head on, it's pretty, but I was like, oh, whatever. Where it gets me, the edges are great. The detail on the cover, those are faces, which if you see it this way, kind of looks like it, but not really. But really where they win for me is when we take the dust jacket off. I love the design on the hardcover itself, living for the spine. But most importantly, I love the art of the characters on the end papers. Like, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I want to be inside the book. I want to be inside the book. I haven't read it yet. I am waiting for fall to hit. I'm waiting for a rainy weekend, or oh, I forgot that on the inside it has the normal cover too. I love when they do that, where you can kind of flip it whichever way, and if I wanted to like really protect this side, I could put the other side out. But yeah, I'm waiting for that first blustery like October weekend where it feels like I'll never be warm again. I'm waiting for that to read this. This is a thick book. I want to say it is just over 500 pages. Yeah, just over. A long weekend in this, and some like hot tea, and some like train ambiance rooms on YouTube. Sounds like an excellent time. Okay, what books do you need to read by the end of 2025? I don't really have a particular one, but I do have a particular goal. So if you've been following my channel this year, you'll know that I made a video at the very beginning of the year called 25 in 2025. And it was not 25 books, but 25 authors. I have only read... No, I take that back. There are a couple authors on there where I have read books from them before, but I wanted to use this as an excuse to get into their backlog. And then there are others that I've never read from before. I have some of these books physically, so I'm just going to use these as examplos. I would love to explore Hernan Diaz. I have Trust here, and I also have his other book. The title's escaping me. I'll put a cover up, but really want to explore Hernan Diaz. Trust in particular because it feels like, what if The Great Gatsby was Hispanic people, or really any people of color, instead of white people in the Roaring Twenties? I also have been really wanting to read Penance by Eliza Clark. This is one of those stories where people do unbelievable things, but they are still believable because it's human. And you question, like, how do we even get there? These girls set their friend on fire, which is... And I want to read this. I just really want to read this. I feel like it's going to hurt. We have Real by Kennedy Ryan. I have loved her Skyland series. I still need to read Can't Get Enough. But I have also wanted to make sure she's just not a one-series author for me. So it's either going to be this or the Hoop series that I get into. And then because I need some levity in my life, Kimberly Lemming. I read her holiday novella in December when I did Novellamus, and I loved it. So I figured I would get into her full-length books, and this is her 2025 release. And then I need to get back on my R.F. Kuang bag. I got like 40% into Babel and then hit a really terrible reading slump at the end of last year, so I need to read that / finish that. I would love to read this. This is the shortest book she's ever put out. I want to reread The Poppy War and... Is The Burning God the second book? I've read books 1 and 2 in the Poppy War series, and then the third book took a little while for me to get access to, and then by the time I finally did, I had kind of forgotten. So I need to reread those / just read that whole series. And I'm excited for Calabasas to come out next month, so a lot of things are happening. But those are some of the authors that I want to read before the end of the year, because, like I said, I have read a ton of romance this year, and while it has been good to me, my brain is getting to the point where I can peep everything that's about to happen, whether it's because of the trope being used, just the general stylized nature of traditionally published romance books, or because I've read from particular authors so much that I just know what's going to happen. And I would like to go back to being pleasantly surprised by the romances I pick up, so I think a little break from that would really help me out. And so some of those authors on that list, actually most of those authors on the list, have not a speck of romance in their books. Okay, so the last question is, what is your favorite video or post you've done so far this year? And I actually had a hard time answering this because my YouTube channel and I have been at odds this year, if I'm being quite honest. It has felt a little bit like a chore. Last year, it was a very invigorating thing for me to really commit to. I have been passively posting on YouTube since 2017, but last year I really started to take it seriously, like committing to doing weekly videos. I was doing live streams, reading sprints and things. I was having so much fun. And I think for a lot of us, it has been hard to continue to find joy in the things we've done in the past. There is a lot going on in America on a regular basis, and I have found that being on my phone and tapped into the book community has been a really hard thing to do and be a part of. I have been looking at people and places to support in my actual local community to try to just feel any basic sense of control over anything. But I'm starting to feel a little bit of joy again, and I think joy is a thing that gets us through so much. Even in the hardest of times, we often look for laughter as a way of physical or emotional pain relief, and I'm trying to seek out some joy. So I'm hoping to be back at, weekly, if not twice weekly videos for you guys. I've been posting twice a week a little bit over the last couple of weeks, partly because some of the stuff I was posting was topical and I didn't want to space it out. But I'm having a good time making videos again. So my favorite video I've done so far this year is the one where I think I titled it like Buying Books in This Economy. And it's just all of the little things you can do to source your reading habit without breaking your bank. Obviously, the library is an option for a lot of us, but it's not always the best option. And what I mean by that, especially in this climate, we have seen plenty of books getting banned. We have seen libraries choose not to purchase copies of things people are requesting. They're not outright banned, but they're just not carrying them. And so a lot of times, going into Target, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, whatever is your only option. Now, I will say my video was very focused on not going to places like Target and Amazon, because Target has a problem when it comes to sourcing any kind of diverse books in there. You go in there and there's like 5 for like the 800 books that are on the shelves. And then with Barnes, it's a similar problem, but also, or not Barnes & Noble, Amazon, it's because they cut costs so much so that there is little to no competition between them and independent booksellers. And while I understand not everyone has the privilege to go walk into the local indie and drop $40 on 2 paperbacks, I understand, because I can't always do that either. I wanted to show you guys some options for getting books in a way that is supportive to independent bookstores while also being supportive to your wallet. So that is the favorite video. I will link it in the card above so you can watch it after this. But yeah, this was a fun little check-in. I'd love to hear how your reading year is going. I will have the questions down in the description, so if you want to do this video yourself, consider yourself tagged. If you don't make content online, but you want to talk to me about your favorite things from your mid-year, feel free to copy and paste those questions down in the comments and answer them up. I would love to see what you guys have been reading and loving, what your goals are for the second half of the year. And I will see you all in another video very soon. Bye!